Evan Payne fought in the Civil War, and his final resting place is in a small cemetery in rural Ohio. But his legacy is a bit of a mystery, because there are actually 2 Evan Paynes buried in that same cemetery. If you do family history, you understand the frustration of a mess like this. You pour hours into searching only to find records that conflict, and you end up with more questions than answers. Today, we'll untangle those records to ensure that the right man is honored for his service, and in doing so, I'll share my research process that I use when the paper trail gets a little bit messy, so that you can apply it to your own family tree. First things first. Are there really 2 Evan Paynes? It's an unusual name in this location in this time period. Plus, the finded grave memorials list the same wife for both. Maybe there really is only one. Let's look for death records in the area. We have Evan S. Payne, who died in April 1912, and Evan Payne, who died in September 1887. The good news is that shows that we do have 2 people. The bad news is that neither one of these records mention anything about military service. Now that I have death dates, I can go looking for obituaries. They can be gold mines of details about a person's life. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find obituaries for either man. That kind of stinks. Okay, we know that there are 2 Evan Paynes, but we still need to figure out which one served in the Civil War. Remember how I said that there were 2 Evan Paynes in this cemetery? Maybe the tombstones will have more information. There's a government-issued military headstone with no death date. Ancestry has a collection for orders of these tombstones, but even that order didn't give any additional information. And there's only 1 tombstone. When I have a problem like this, I like to take a step back and ask, what do I really know about this person I'm researching? One of the most common mistakes genealogists make, especially when things start to get messy, is they skip this step. They forget to go back and check on what they really have, or in this case, what they don't. At this point, I realized that I don't know a whole lot about the Evan Payne who served in Company C, 5th USCT. Thankfully, records called compiled military service records for that regiment are available on Ancestry, Fold 3, and Family Search. So I don't have to order them from the National Archives, saving me some time and money. Yay! The descriptive card says that he enlisted in 1863 and was 31 years old. That would make him born about 1832. He was born in Fauquier County, Virginia, and he was a Cooper. And because he was enlisting in a black regiment, it also mentions that he was free when he enlisted. Now that I know more about the Evan Payne who served, what can I find about the 2 Evan Paynes who were living in the area of Perry and Hocking County, Ohio? Looking at the 1880 census, there's an Evan Payne who was widowed, born in Ohio about 1827, and he was a farmer. There's another Evan Payne, married to Margaret, born in Virginia about 1832, and he's a Cooper. So we have an Evan Payne who was a Cooper. But we can't rule out the farmer. I've seen too many people who were farmers, but they have the sideline in another business. But we do have to keep it in mind. We have an Evan who is about the right age and born in Virginia. But the other Evan is really close in age. Census records can be a bit tricky because you don't know who gave the information or how accurate their knowledge was. Plus, and a lot of people are surprised by this, people in the 1800s didn't always know exactly when they were born. So it isn't surprising to see records be off a little bit. All of this puts a bit of a wrinkle in our research. So now we have a choice. We could flip a coin to decide which one was the Civil War soldier, or we could do a little bit more research. I say let's do some more research. When you're researching a Civil War soldier, one record you should always look for is a pension file. Civil War pension files are some of my favorite records. They are so detailed. Even the index can give valuable information. Check out the pension index for Evan Payne, 5th USCT. Well, Evan isn't the one who had a pension. It was his widow, Margaret, and she applied for the pension in August of 1890. Here's the thing about widows applying for pensions. If she's applying as a widow, that's a really good sign that the soldier has already died, which means, in this case, that the Evan Payne who served had to have been the one who died in 1887. He's also the one who was married to Margaret. A bit more research shows that he and his parents, Rice and Nancy Payne, were free people of color in Fauquier County, Virginia, and that they had moved to Ohio by 1860. Evan married Margaret Norman in September 1870. The other Evan Payne was married to Frances Harper. She died in 1872, and Evan never remarried. Late-breaking development. As I was wrapping up my research, I went back to find a grave to look at the other memorials in Payne Cemetery, and I noticed that there was a replacement military marker for Evan Payne. There are two things I need to do. First, contact the manager of the other Evans Memorial to get the information changed about his marriage. And second, you might have noticed that this new tombstone actually includes the date of death, and whoever ordered it came to the same conclusion that I did about which Evan Payne served. But even if I had seen this tombstone earlier in the process, I still would have done this same research, because when you have multiple people with the same name, you don't want to base your conclusions on just one record that was created long after the event. This actually reminds me of another case that I worked on involving a woman who had a very short-lived marriage. There were so many twists and turns to that one. Check out this video to see what happened to her and her children after that marriage broke up.